And good morning. Let me begin by saying thank you to all of those of you that sent me energy yesterday. It worked. I'll share a little bit more of that as I continue. The title for this morning is 2012 Critical or Complementary Communication. How do we talk to those closest to us, those we live with, work with, and see regularly? Are we building them up or putting them down? Are we focusing on what they do wrong or remembering why we may have loved them once upon a time? What does our communication reveal about us? After all, it is coming from us. Out of the abundance of the heart or its poverty, we speak to one another, and our words have great effect. Unlike yesterday when I didn't meditate at all, I've been in meditation for close to 2 hours already this morning. Waking up before 3 o'clock and getting out of bed before 3:30, meditating the time in between. Yesterday was actually a very good day for me. The day before was not, but yesterday was a good day. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that so many of you sent me positive energy. The situation with my daughter seems to be working itself out, or at least there's progress in a positive direction, whereas previously it did not look so good, and it was a very major concern to me. And so those of you that prayed for that particular situation or sent positive energy to my daughter and her family, and as well as to me, thank you. My son and his girlfriend came over last evening. He had spent quite a bit of time with my daughter yesterday and got her car running. I was able to purchase a new battery for her car, and it started, although there's still some work that needs to be done. It's been sitting idle for several months now because they really haven't had the money to get it fixed. But I'm helping out a little bit there as I can, and my son is helping, and it looks like the situation is going to be remedied. But when my son came over with his girlfriend, an interesting comment was made that she's teaching him the importance of compliments. And she shared how in her school class, she's a college student, quite a few years younger than my son, but like a breath of fresh air or a ray of sunshine, she's brightening his life. And in her class, she commented that other students say, "What would we do without you in the class? You're always complimenting everybody." Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. She has a cheerful attitude, and the cheerful attitude is contagious, and people notice and appreciate. She builds up what's right with people, and she's an artist, among other things. And she said, even in somebody's elementary attempts at art, there's always something good to point out. It may not be perfect. You may not even like it, but there's always something good you can see in it. What kind of lesson is that for all of us? As we sat there in the atrium and talked about this, we reflected on relationships. My son on his previous marriage, in which his wife was always telling him what he was doing wrong. And that reflects very heavily on my first marriage with his mom. What are we building when we relate to other people? When we are constantly nagging and criticizing the other person, you're not building. When you're doing that, you're not building something positive in the other person and for yourself. You're actually undermining your own happiness when you do that. And that's what we were looking at yesterday as we talked, and what I've been meditating on since we talked. We undermine our own happiness by the words that come out of our mouth and by what we're choosing to focus on with the other person. If we want to build a sustainable world, we're going to have to get the lesson as humans that we speak either out of our abundance or out of our poverty. When we see ourselves as lacking something we want and or need, we tend to focus outside of ourselves on how other people are affecting our emotional moods. And we don't often see how we are responsible for creating the energy in that relationship, how we are sabotaging our own happiness because we're focusing on what's wrong with the other person, and we're not seeing that what we're seeing as wrong with the other person is reflecting something in us that we're not looking at. So we keep building it up and building it up, the negative I'm talking about, until or unless we see the cause. Are we actually causing the deficiency in the other person, or just simply magnifying what's already there? Probably the latter. We're probably magnifying the negative. I pointed out a study that I read about once where a teacher in a class, and it was a study, was given numbers for her students on what their IQ was. And it was remarkable. They were made up numbers. They had nothing to do with the individuals at all. They were just randomly selected numbers. But the students that she thought were intelligent performed much better throughout the year than those that she thought were not very smart. What was the truth? The same students that may not have performed well that year performed well with other teachers that didn't have that preconceived idea of their intelligence, and vice versa. Students that had not done well with other teachers excelled with this teacher when she thought they had a high IQ, when she thought they were smart. Oh, wow. And there's a lesson in that. We do have a great effect, and our words and our expectations have a great effect on our environment and the people we interact with. Tonight, Margie is coming over to the house to do another love line. And Margie's the one that I work with in the workshops that we've been friends since January of 1994, so a long time. And one of the things that we do in the workshops and in these It's All About Love meetings that we do monthly here at the Mary Horgan Center is we tend to focus on love, on compassionate and loving communication with other people. And we look for the good in other people. And that has a tremendously powerful effect. And by the way, there's another workshop the last weekend of this month. And if any of you that are listening would like to do that workshop with Margie, get in touch with me and I'll connect you with Margie, or just go to my Facebook page and connect with Margie that way. But I know we could use some more participants in the workshop coming up, and I highly recommend it. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to be there this time either, as I wasn't the last time. But we'll see. I mean, I'm not going to predict the future. We'll see. But this whole idea of focusing on the positive in people can go a long way in creating the kind of world that you and I really want and long for in our hearts. I think of the Republic and the anti-Republic people. It's interesting in this battle that's raging that each group says that the other group is going to get arrested when these arrests happen. Each group is seeing very much and focusing totally on what's wrong with the other group. Pretty much totally. And yet both groups have the exact same desire to be liberated and set free from the criminal governments and the criminal corporations that have been operating our world. They have the same goal. And they fight each other. Now, who does that serve? Who does that serve? I mean, this is one of the things that has overwhelmed me, because both sides are pulling on me to get me to see their point of view. And it's actually more the hate the Republic people that are doing the pulling. The Republic people are saying, thanks for standing up for us. Well, I'm part of the Republic. And it's the only group that actually has created a structure based on law, based on the Constitution. Something that will work as a bridge in our real world. That's how I see it. The other is creating an anarchy where everybody is free, but nobody's connected to anybody else. There is no structure. There is no structure. And without structure, nothing's going to be accomplished. People that are anti-government say government's the problem. No, government isn't the problem. The people in government are the problem. And the people that have given those people power and not stood on their own power are the problem. We are the problem because we've been ignorant. We are the problem because we have refused to focus on what's good about things and build the good. We have only torn down and put down instead of building up. There are things that are right still in the United States. We tend to focus, myself included, on what's wrong with it. And there's lots wrong with it. But what would happen if we started really building what's right about things? I'm not saying to put your head in the sand like so many people do and live in denial and not face up to the world that we're actually living in, but face up to the fact that we're helping create that world by how we choose our words. Are we attacking? Or are we offering solutions? Attacks will never resolve any issue. When you're in a relationship and you're fighting with each other and you're arguing, you're not even communicating at all. You're not hearing each other. You're not seeing your own self. And you're undermining your own happiness. We've all been there, folks. If we've been in relationships for any period of time, we've been there, we've done that. And if we look closely, we'll see it. Unless we're perfect. I mean, I know I'm not. Maybe if we're perfect, we haven't been there. But I don't know too many people that fall into the category of perfect. And yet, even our imperfections are perfect because they give us an opportunity to develop our communication skills, and even more importantly, our seeing skills. How do you see yourself? How do you see others? What do you see? Can you separate what you see from what you think, from what you feel? Do you know the difference? These are things we need to look at, and we really need to make some serious choices and perhaps serious changes in how we conduct ourselves. I, for one, want a world that works for everyone. I don't know how to get there, and yet I do. It is through compassionate observation and compassionate communication that we will get there. When we stop fighting with each other over who's right and who's wrong, and we start looking for the good and accepting and building on the good that is in each of us, we will have more of that good. But if we choose to continue to find fault and be critical and put each other down and throw rocks and throw stones, we're not going to have a very happy world, are we? Whether it's the home situation, the work situation, or the world at large, we are creating that world by how we see and how we speak, and yes, how we act toward one another. I'm going to leave you with these thoughts this morning, encouraging you to focus on what's good and be thankful for what's good in the other person. And when you see something nice about the other person, say so. Say so. Build what is positive. That's a step in the right direction that will lead to our healing and to a much more beautiful world. Thank you for listening. Namaste.